Welcome, and thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy this video, we invite those of you who haven't yet done so, to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the notification icon, to be notified when the next one is uploaded. We appreciate all comments, whether positive or negative, because it is very important to ventilate both sides of any issue. All we ask is that you observe the YouTube community guidelines. We'd like to urge those of you who haven't yet done so, to sign our online petition for an inquiry into the BBC and Channel 4's coverage of Lewis Hamilton and Abu Dhabi. A link has been provided in the description. If you are on X, then please repost our tweet. Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Lewis Hamilton's $1 million reward has certainly put the cat amongst the pigeons, or in keeping with his style, let the goat into the garden. Whichever way you prefer, his $1 million reward is a dog whistle to the whistleblower, or anybody else within the team prepared to collect, and Mercedes, knowing this, are scrambling like mad to cover up evidence of sabotage. It is public knowledge that Mercedes and Toto Wolff have been sabotaging Sir Lewis all season. We have tracked the sabotage back to 2016, through to 2021, and carrying on into this year, where they took the gloves off. The sabotaging got so bad that a Mercedes whistleblower called it out publicly. Sir Lewis himself felt the need to question why his tires were below temperature, and he was not told about George's pit stop strategy in Canada. The failure to inform about George's pit stop strategy resurfaced again in Belgium, but this time with disastrous results. Mercedes have repeatedly posted fake apologies for adopting race strategies that disadvantaged Sir Lewis, for example like they did in Singapore, to name just one instance. And our highly valued subscriber, at Paul Sterling 2610, exposed them on their own Acadist Mexico City GP race debrief YouTube video, for using the cover of experimenting with Sir Lewis's race settings to sabotage his race. It was also on the Acadist Belgian GP race debrief video that Mercedes made a most astonishing effort to gaslight the fact that they cheated to attempt to rob Sir Lewis of victory in Belgium. Critically, in that race, Mercedes attempted to reverse a 1-2 finish, to put George ahead of Sir Lewis, but ended up with George being disqualified for cheating. So, it is not in dispute that Mercedes have been sabotaging the GOAT. We have also reported on what Mercedes have been doing behind the scenes to tarnish Sir Lewis's image and interfere with his transfer to Ferrari. Back in June this year, we published a video about Toto Wolff and Mercedes's secret plot to sack Sir Lewis and blame Ferrari for getting into his head. We advised then that Mercedes would try to engineer some sort of dispute that would provide the pretext for bringing legal action against him and Ferrari, and here we are now with 3 races to go. Sir Lewis has hinted that he might sit out the rest of the season, and he has also offered a $1 million reward for information on the problem with his car. Both comments are significant shots across the Mercedes bow. Sitting out the rest of the season provides Mercedes with the pretext for instituting legal action, and it doesn't much matter that Sir Lewis has a compelling defense of constructive dismissal, discrimination, and unsafe working environment. All that matters is that Mercedes can go to court. And this time, you can bet your bottom dollar that they will have no problems going through with it, unlike Abu Dhabi 2021. Sir Lewis is well within his rights to take whatever action he deems fit, and we wish him all the best on any road he takes. As far as the $1 million reward goes, it is important to note that only someone at Mercedes can know what the problem is, and as such, only a whistleblower can leak the information. So, Sir Lewis is in effect offering the whistleblower a bounty of $1 million. The comment by the GOAT, who is the undisputed king of wet weather conditions, about his car being undrivable in the wet, while his pedestrian teammate had started on the front grid, only strengthens his case in the event of legal action. Whether you take his offer at face value or not, Mercedes do, and are scrambling around to cover their backsides. How do we know this? We know this from visiting their homepage, which is a veritable treasure trove for those who know how to mine it. As our regulars will know, we have been monitoring and recording their homepage throughout the season, so we have come to understand their editorial policies. We can say authoritatively that after Brazil, they have abandoned those principles for the first time this season. This can be clearly attributed to Sir Lewis's public criticism of the team and the car in Brazil, and the accompanying $1 million reward for anyone who can find the solution. It was their desperate announcement of why Petronas was important to them that alerted us to their concerns about their lead sponsor walking out after Sir Lewis. The Silver Arrows have long had a policy of featuring the image of the lead driver from every race as the banner headline in the days after the race. For example, George was the banner headline after the Canadian GP. He was also the banner headline from Austria, who carried on into the first edition after Silverstone. Can anyone guess why that was? Our guess was that it was just to stick it to Sir Lewis. The GOAT was the headline banner after the Belgian GP, and so on and so forth. We won't list them all here, but you get the picture. So, after the Brazilian GP, where George finished 4th and Sir Lewis finished a lowly 10th, the Mercedes homepage should have carried George's image as the banner headline, but it featured Sir Lewis instead. Now, why is that? In addition, the GOAT was featured more prominently on the homepage than his leading teammate. Now, why was that? Throughout the season, Mercedes have done everything they could to tarnish Sir Lewis's good name, sabotage his race, mess with his head, and get his teammate ahead of him. And then in Brazil, after all their Christmases came at once, as they were able to nobble the king in the wet, during a race in the wet, to put his wet teammate ahead in the race and the tables, they suddenly depart from their established practices. They don't feature George as the banner headline, like they've been doing all season. They don't give him prominence on their homepage, like they've been doing all season. They don't crow about him being better than the GOAT, like they did in Belgium. They don't criticize the GOAT for criticizing the car, like they did in Austria. They don't criticize the 8th-time world champion for offering $1 million bounty that openly suggests his team is unable to find a solution. Nothing, not a damn thing. The only thing that Mercedes did was issue a carefully worded announcement that made a clear distinction between them and their driver. Mercedes let it be known that regardless of Sir Lewis's cryptic comments, they had no plans to replace him for the final 3 races of the season. Saying in effect that if he pulls out then it's on him. They just want to frustrate the hell out of his life, and maybe break his spirit. Comparing this passive-aggressive demeanor of Mercedes to their past openly aggressive conduct, it is reasonable to conclude that they are preparing the grounds should litigation arise. Interestingly enough, on their homepage, Mercedes are still professing the importance of their lead sponsor alongside the images of the GOAT, so does this mean they are still unsure of their continuing sponsorship? The Acadis race debrief for the Brazilian GP makes it abundantly clear that the public have a low opinion of Mercedes and are fully convinced that they are deliberately sabotaging Sir Lewis. So, one can see why Mercedes are now boosting him on their homepage and stopping short of publicly criticizing him, like they were doing freely before. Whatever happens between now and the end of the season, we wish him all the best and pray for his safety. But just imagine if the $1 million reward prompted a whistleblower to come forward. Forza Ferrari,